Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and thanks for joining me for today's episode. Really appreciate that. And guys, today we're going to be talking about how to catch more bass when you get over 50 years of age. There are some shifts that take place naturally, within, the way that we fish and the way our bodies are progressing, the way our bodies are aging, that I want to give you guys some good tips and advice, because you can actually use this to your benefit in a lot of cases. And I don't know if I've ever even heard of a video talking about this, catching more bass over 50, but I'm going to give you guys some good tips and advice on that, because as a lot of you are that watch the channel, including myself, we're all over 50, and I think this is definitely going to help you guys out here. I'm also, guys, real quick, you guys probably know I've been talking about jerkbaits a lot on the channel. We're going to continue to do so over the next month because we're coming up in jerkbait season. So I'm trying to give you guys little tips every single day. One tip I want to give you guys on color, this is that Megabass King Kuro color. It's sort of a gold here. And when you're talking about using a gold jerkbait, there's a couple different situations a gold jerkbait like this King Kuro works real good. One is in any type of situation where you have aquatic vegetation. If you have hydrilla or milfoil or any type of tannic water or just vegetation in general, a gold jerkbait is outstanding around any type of vegetation. And also, I like a gold on cloudy days. It's gonna be really, really good. So I'll put my Megabass jerkbait link in the description of this video if you guys wanna get this. It's called the Megabass King Kuro color, one of my favorites in those type of situations. And also, guys, thank you very much for supporting Intuitive Angling by subscribing to the channel and using all the links in the description. Much appreciated there. Okay, this is inevitable here. I've had a chance to go through the whole different age ranges of fishing, because I've been fishing since I was a little kid. And the changes that take place as you get older are extremely gradual, and you don't even notice it really. Fishing is one of those sports that by logic, it just seems that the older you are and the more that you know about fishing, the better that you're going to do. And that's not really the case, because a lot of times what happens, and one of the big drawbacks as you get older, is you sort of get, and it's a drawback, but at the same time it can be an advantage. You sort of get set into your ways, and you don't have the same level of creativity and imagination that you do when you're younger, because you have seen things work for you. You develop some techniques in fishing if you've been doing it a long time that you've caught a lot of fish on, and you tend to fall back on that. And younger anglers don't have that library of success, and they tend to be more open-minded. So sometimes that can be a benefit. But inevitably what happens is when, and I always talk about this because it's just a fact of life that you don't need to fight. As you get into your 40s as an angler, you're going to start noticing some type of a little bit of decline in your success, especially if you're a competitive angler and if you're a recreational angler to some extent, because these changes take place slowly. And one of the first things that you're going to notice is everybody's eyesight starts to get a little bit weaker as they get into their 40s. And I remember when I turned 45 or 46, that's when I started, having to use these readers like a lot of you guys are. So just things like that. It makes it slower to tie on a knot. You can't, you miss some guides in your rod once in a while when you're stringing them up. That's one aspect of it. And then there's some other changes within your body too that takes place, whether it be physical and mentally. And this change, it happens at different paces with different people. If you take care of yourself and you exercise and you pay attention to a lot of stuff like that, you can delay some of that stuff. But eventually what's going to happen is by the time that you hit about 50, you're going to start noticing a decline in your success that you can't really identify. It's like when I observe people that when they get into their 50s, like in tournament fishing, everybody starts going downhill. I don't care. Kevin Van Dam started going downhill. All the top guys, Denny Breyer, Rick Lund, Larry Nixon, everybody starts going downhill for those reasons that we mentioned, and you fight it at first. But one of the things I want to talk about today is I want to give you guys some tips and advice on how to take advantage of being older as an angler, and some things that you can do to really, continue catching a lot of fish. Now, a lot of it depends on the state of your physical health. I mean, a lot of people, if they don't exercise and they don't take care of themselves, they don't have the same type of reflexes and muscular balance that you did when you were younger. So the techniques, as you get over 50, if you were one of those guys that love to just burn the bank with a spinnerbait or burn the bank with a crankbait, you're probably going to have to make some type of an adjustment to the way that you fish. You don't have to change it completely, but you're going to have to incorporate other techniques that allow you to not, have to rely on that type of endurance. So one of the things that I've noticed about anglers that are successful when they get over 50, and I'll use Larry Nixon as a prime example of this because he was highly competitive up into his late 60s, is try to gravitate towards techniques that are slower fishing. Guido Hibden was the same way. As Guido got older, he did the same thing. But if you were a big like spinnerbait, topwater, crankbait fisherman when you were younger, try to start incorporating some other techniques that are slower, like jig fishing, Texas rig worm fishing, Cinco fishing, wacky rig fishing, shaky head fishing, some type of technique where it doesn't quite have the same impact as far as on your, you make your joints or whatever like that. Just some baits that you can just work nice and slow like this, because there's a big difference between throwing out there and working a bait like this, all day, or burning a crankbait like that. So you're gonna have to change your technique a little bit if your body, has that limitation on it. Now, not everybody does, because like myself, I've been fortunate enough, I've been in the gym my whole life and I've kept active. So I'll be 64 next week and I can still go out and burn a spinnerbait and burn a crankbait all day long. But if you're one of those people that are maybe have a little bit of arthritis, a little bit of, joint inflammation or whatever like that, you're gonna have to go to those different techniques. And some of the most highly productive techniques that I want to recommend here, guys, when you get over 50 as far as fishing slow, is really try to get good with a shaky head. A shaky head is an incredible bass catcher. And it's not, when people think about shaky heads, they think of like a little finessey shaky head. You can fish shaky heads as big as you want. You can fish a 4-inch, a 6-inch, a 8-inch, even a 10-inch shaky head. But a shaky head is a great bass producer 12 months out of the year. So you need to get good at that. Another bait you need to try and get good at is a Ned rig. Ned rig is a great bait for catching tons of fish. If you happen to fish in areas that have a lot of smallmouth in it, you can catch giant smallmouth on a Ned rig, really, really good. And then, of course, your wacky rigs and your jigs. Wacky rigs are incredible fish catchers around shallow cover, and jig fishing, one of my top 2 favorite techniques, especially a finesse jig. Finesse jigs will get bit 12 months out of the year, all year long. So try to incorporate that and try to make a shift in the way that you approach. So for example, let's say when you were 35 years old, that you saw this nice stretch of riprap there, you wanted to go down it, you wanted to cover water, burn a crankbait. Once you get older, fish that same riprap, but slow down with that finesse jig, or throw that shaky head up there and slow down. And it's really gonna help you guys maintain a full day's fishing. Okay, given that, now that's a technique option. There's 2 other aspects that you're gonna have to focus on when you get over 50. And one of them is, it's the mental aspect and it's being a little bit stubborn. Because one of the advantages about being older is you don't have to do anything that you don't want to do if you don't like to do it. So instead of like trying to keep up with all the latest, greatest stuff, all the technology, all that type of stuff, just dig your heels in and do what you like to do and focus on that water. If you like to flip a jig, just go looking for that type of water where you can flip a jig. I mean, if you like to twitch a little Rapala minnow on the surface, go try to master that technique and just do that. Because as you get older in fishing, you're going to find out that the aesthetics of fishing are more important than the actual fish catching. It's like just the appreciation of being out there and reminiscing on past memories and just, living in the moment is the most that you can. And that really helps if you do what you love to do. One thing that I'll give you guys an example here. I was listening to some of the stuff that Rick Clunn has been talking about for the last 10 years. And Rick went through the same thing everybody else does as your performance starts to deteriorate. And I remember when the last couple of years he was fishing the Elite Series, he was making a point that he had to adjust to the new technology, and he liked the new technology, and that, he wanted to win a tournament with forward-facing sonar, and which, was very odd to hear him say that. But I noticed here very recently, he's made some comments about some events he's fished where he's just going to fish the way he likes to fish, which is a crankbait and a spinnerbait. That's what I'm talking about. As you get older, guys, it's okay to get set in your ways. In fact, it can be an advantage to you sometime because, if you're set in your ways with a bait that you like to fish and you commit to that bait, you're a lot more likely to catch fish on that bait than somebody that just has some type of a casual fondness for it. So dig your heels in, get a little bit stubborn, fish the way that you want to fish, and try to incorporate, some of the techniques that I'm talking about in it a little bit. I know that's sort of a paradox there, but it just depends on everybody's own individual personality. I mean, you may be a type of person that wants to make a change and adapt and change your techniques to a slow technique, or you may be like me and you may be stubborn and you're going to do what you want to do. And then finally, guys, as you get older as an angler, you have got to make a mental shift. And this is very hard to do, especially if you're a competitive person. If you're a competitive person, it is very difficult for you to accept the aging process, especially if you're a competitive tournament fisherman on any level. It's difficult to do, and a lot of people struggle with it, especially when they're in their 50s. You can't struggle with it, guys. Aging and getting old is undefeated. It's going to happen to you. So you sort of have to get into that gracefully a little bit and accept the fact that that's just part of life. That's part of the cycle of life. That's part of the balance of life. And use every stage of your life to maximize your life fullest, whatever that stage is. I don't care if it's 60, 70, 80, 90. There's things about, every single age demographic that is unique to itself, and you've got to really appreciate that for what it is. So main thing is just don't fight it. Just sort of go with it and try to appreciate the other things that a lot of people don't, because so many people that I see, and one of the things that I really am sad to see is a lot of people get so focused on catching fish that they lose sight of everything else. And this is especially true as you're younger. It's like when you're younger, you want to get bit and you want to catch fish. And a lot of times you don't have patience if you're not catching fish. But as you get older, especially in your 50s, like I said, you get more contemplative, you get more reflective, and there is value to that. And there is something about that is very nurturing to your soul. So just take time to breathe in the air and appreciate everything around you. Don't get caught up in just getting bit and catching fish all the time. Just experience everything else that the incredible sport of fishing has to offer. And above all, screw technology. I'm getting so freaking sick of AI and high-tech crap. Screw it. You don't need it. In fact, it's an insult to the sport. It's an insult to the fish. It's an insult to yourself for using it. So anyway, guys, hope everybody's well. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll check in later.